Words have power, but a prophetic word powers generations. I want to repeat that. Words have power, but a prophetic word powers generations. I want to tell you guys something that happened to me a couple of days ago. A couple of days ago, I live in St. Louis, and it's really been a lot of snow and ice going on. But anyway, and normally I don't come out in the snow and ice, but this particular day I came out. This was like Tuesday or whenever this week. And the roads were really bad. I mean, we had 0-degree weather with about 5-6 inches of snow, something like that. But we came out, my sweetie and I did. He was bringing me to work. And the thing is that as we were coming to work, we almost had a horrible accident. I mean, it was horrible. We were sliding all over the place, and we both just knew we were about to be in an accident. But this is the thing about this. Again, remember what I said. I said words have power, but a prophetic word changes generations. I'm going to get to my point now. So I said, okay, we almost got in that accident. I came to work. I was hysterical. I'm crying. I'm hysterical about almost getting in this accident. So then I stayed at work, and for 8 hours, all I did was use words to talk about the fact that I was almost in a terrible accident. It shaped my whole day. I had the worst day that day. I was irritated. I was mad. I was irritable. I mean, it just shaped my whole day, because all I did for 8 hours was talk about the fact that I almost got in an accident. And I kept replaying it and meditating on it, and just kept replaying it in my mind over and over and over again. But words have power. But I forgot that a prophetic word powers generations. So instead of me talking about what almost happened and that I was almost in an accident, what I should have been doing was saying the prophetic word, where God said He is Jehovah Shammah, the God that is always there, that He is the God that will protect me. I should have been using those prophetic words, but instead of doing that, all I did was concentrate again and meditate on what could have happened, and I was just speaking words of doom and gloom, which made me have doom and gloom. But that's what I want to show you about. Words matter, that words are powerful, but a prophetic word will power a generation. I want to take you to Ezekiel. I think it's around Ezekiel 37. This is the part in the Bible where it talks about the valley of the dry bones. Now, I want to tell you the story about Ezekiel. Ezekiel said he was taken up by God, and he said that God took him to a valley where there was nothing but dry bones there. And he said, and God asked Ezekiel, he said, Ezekiel, can these bones live? And Ezekiel said, nobody knows that, God, but you. Then God told Ezekiel, he said, but Ezekiel, this is what I want you to do. He said, I want you to speak a prophetic message over these bones. I want you to say, this is what the sovereign Lord said. Because let me explain to you about prophetic words. Prophetic words are simply words that have been uttered into you by God. Prophetic words are words by God, okay? That's the first thing. People think prophecy means to tell you the fortune tell. Okay, all of that's in it too, but right now I'm concentrating on the aspect that a prophetic word is a word that someone has gotten from the lips, from the heavens, from God. Well, God told Ezekiel, he said, speak a prophetic word over these bones. He said, tell them that I said, that God said, they shall live. He said, tell these dry bones that I said, God said, that He was going to put skin on the bones and that He was going to cause the bones to come together. He said, Ezekiel, tell them that I said, speak a prophetic word over the bones. Ezekiel did that. Now, Ezekiel didn't speak his word. Ezekiel spoke the prophetic word that came from God. Then God said, as the bones begin to get flesh on it, and as the bones begin to, to come alive and come together, He said, now Ezekiel, He said, speak a prophetic word to the wind. He said, and tell the wind that God said, to breathe on them, so that there may be breath and life in the dry bones. So Ezekiel did just that, and the winds began to breathe, and the bones began to have air put into them, and the bones began to then be able to speak and become really alive and human, because see, Ezekiel spoke a prophetic word that would shape a generation over the bones. Because see, what God told Ezekiel is that these dry bones represent Israel, my children. He said, because they feel like they are old and dried out and have no purpose, and that they can never achieve anything. Now, that is what a whole lot of us are feeling. We got so many things that are over in the valley of the dry bones. We have some children that we thought we've had to throw in the valley of the dry bones because we thought that they were never going to amount to anything. We thought that they were never going to change. We thought that they were never going to be able to live a life worthy of who you believe them to be. We threw them in the valley of the dry bones. We have marriages that have been thrown in the valley of the dry bones because we think that it's dead, it has no life, it can't give anything. So we've just thrown it in the valley of the dry bones. But God said, okay, but if you would just speak a prophetic word over your marriage, and that prophetic word is that I honor marriages. God says, I honor marriages. See, God says that, that for this cause, a man will leave his wife and leave his mother and cling to his wife. God says, I will bless that. God says that a sanctified wife will sanctify her husband. See, that's a prophetic word. That if you speak that word over your marriage, then that word will trickle down to your children. And then they'll be able to give it to their children. And then their children's children. See, because God says he'll bless and he'll curse to the 5th generation. But you just got to speak a prophetic word over your situation. Some of us have dreams and visions and careers that we have thrown into the valley of the dry bones because we didn't know that all we had to do is speak a prophetic word over our situation. All we had to do was say, God, you said that you will prosper anything that I put my hands to. So that's a prophetic word because that came from God. God, you said that where my feet tread, it will be blessed. God, you said the prophetic word. We got to learn how to speak a prophetic word so that it may shape generations. Because when you speak this word, when you live in this word, when you understand the importance of being able to hear from God and be able to speak what God says over your life, be able to speak what God says over your dry bones, be able to speak what God says over an accident that looks like it's getting ready to happen. And if we meditate on the things of God, if we meditate on what God says, then what we meditate on is what will manifest in our life. Again, words have power, but prophetic words powers generations. When I was sitting talking about almost in that accident, see, what I should have been doing was speaking the prophetic word that I know God speaks to me. The prophetic word that, God, he sees my comings and my goings. The prophetic word that says that when the enemy comes in like a flood, that God will lift up a standard against him. See, that's a prophetic word. Speak a prophetic word over your dry bone situation. Speak a prophetic word over that looks like it's dead in your life. Because if you speak a prophetic word, the winds have to listen. The elements have to obey. The bones have to live. But you gotta know how to speak a prophetic word, because words have power, but prophetic words change generations. Peace and blessings.